set. I'll follow you out to your car and show you how to set that up in your car. All Classical Portland is the official media sponsor for these full-length Classical Up Close concerts, but we don't have anything to do with organizing these concerts, nor does the Oregon Symphony itself. If you weren't aware, it's the Oregon Symphony musicians who individually, collectively have gotten together to organize these concerts, find the venues for these concerts, select the repertoire for these concerts, rehearse for these ensembles. So much love and work has gone into this as a thank you to the community for your support. So can we give the musicians a hand for all their hard work? I would like to ask, is there anyone here who has never been to a Classical Up Close concert before? Excellent. Yes, welcome. We're going to have a really good time. Well, welcome. These concerts organized by the Oregon Symphony musicians are really relaxed. You're encouraged, if you're swept away by the music, to applaud between movements if you want to. You don't have to adhere to any particular decorum. We just want to enjoy the music. But I will say, if you want to take videos and photos, feel free to do that. But if you could turn the ringer off on your phone, that would keep from distracting the musicians as they play. Also, after each and every piece today, we'll have a little opportunity to talk with the musicians. They are going to stick around after each piece and answer some questions. So if you are listening to the music and you think, I wonder what the composer was thinking, or I want to know more about that person's instrument, or I like their top, where did they get that? You know, anything goes at Classical Up Close. So if you got questions, afterwards we'll have a couple minutes to do questions and answers with the musicians. Sound good? All right. Let's get this show on the road. Would you join me in welcoming for our first piece of music, which is some gorgeous music by Ravel, Sarah and Nancy and Susan. questions you'd like to ask them about the music or about what it's like to play in the Oregon Symphony, about their instruments? Anything come to mind that you'd like to know? I'll tell you that we've got the concertmaster of the Oregon Symphony right here. Remember when I said it's the musicians of the Oregon Symphony that put together these concerts? She's the chief wrangler of classical clothes. This is Nancy Ives, the principal cellist of the Oregon Symphony. Susan Smith is a piano instructor at Lewis and Clark College, as is Nancy still, right? Yes?
Not
so
yet.
I was a member, I lived downtown, and I recognized the ladies, because I was a member of the Portland Symphony. And I used to go, I was a member for many years.
Oh, that's great.
Well, welcome.
Fabulous. It was enriching and fabulous.
Awesome. And I see a question way in the back.
How long did you practice those pieces?
Individually or together?
Together, I was thinking.
Well, we start, should I use a mic or?
Can you hear her okay? Would you like a mic?
Okay. Actually, the three of us gave a performance last November down in Salem with this, and this piece was on it. So back then it took us maybe 6 rehearsals to get the entire program, but that was 3 pieces. And so to resurrect this was a little easier, maybe just a couple of rehearsals this week.
Yes, sir, right here.
Did Ravel, what's the story behind this piece? What was he thinking, or what is it? Is there a story there?
I don't know, but the things that you hear a lot in a lot of Ravel's music are like repetition of these tiny little ideas, like da, 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 da. And humor also in that second movement, where we're like, these things jump out at you and then come right back. So
it's quintessentially French, right? So that the humor, that there's a Gallic humor, right? But there's also, that was a good point about using the little bits. Think of some of the artistic trends visually in the impressionistic style, and the pointillism and washes of color, and the colors not being entirely natural. You notice we had a lot of harmonics and things like that, and sometimes they'll use even more quote-unquote kinds of colors, and very different voicings than the composers who had come before. So I think it helps to kind of get into what was he going for, to remember how quintessentially French he was, and then how the impressionist style of art was all around him.
I see a question right here, yes.
Okay, so this is a weird question. I was trying to Google him. I was trying to Google Ravel while you were playing, and I just couldn't pick up a signal. But somebody told me about his life that he, and I was just looking at the years he was alive, like from, up until, I think he died in 37, so he was born in like 1875. And I heard somewhere that he was actually, during the war, he was like in charge of picking up bodies, and that he composed a lot of music while he was driving around.
I think he was an ambulance driver,
he was
right?
an ambulance driver. Yeah, he was an ambulance driver, and he wanted to be a soldier, and he wanted to fight, and he was too short. He was a tiny, tiny man. It was something that he was self-conscious about, to the point where he had furniture made for his house, his apartment, that was smaller so that he would feel bigger. But I think it deeply affected him, World War I, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Ravel was prolific as a composer. How did you come to settle on this particular piece for tonight?
I love the piece. It's a piece I've loved for decades. And so we played it in November, and I think we all love it, and thought it would be fun to be able to play it again.
I see a question right here, too.
Was it as much fun as it looked?
Yes.
Great questions, you guys. I love this. I see see, one more. Yep.
So the trio is one of the classic ensembles for chamber music. How different is it to play this Ravel piece than for Haydn?
Then for what?
How different is it for you to play something more modern, 20th century?
As opposed to Haydn.
Oh, yeah.
Your part is.
Well, for me, it's probably the biggest difference of all because the classical era composers weren't that far removed from the Baroque era where basso continuo was one of the dominant sort of ways to use the cello. So this part, my part in this piece, is many times harder than my part, I mean just much more difficult than my part in a Haydn, Mozart, or even Beethoven trio. I would say it's another level more difficult than in Brahms. There's some of that for the violin, but I think the gradation is bigger in terms of how much harder. Because like that Haydn, we played Sarah and I played the Gypsy. It's a nickname for the Haydn trio, and it's basically a virtuosic showpiece for the violin, and the cello is doubling the bass line of the piano. Pretty much that's all you do. So it's a big difference. In a delightful way.
That's a great question, too. Any more before we move on to the next group? Yes.
I was just going to say that you must really enjoy being a big part of this trio rather than doubling the bass.
Did you guys hear that?
It's a conversation among three people rather than, and I mean, all of you are wonderful, but it really is a conversation rather than being a solo with accompaniment.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I don't prefer to have more interesting parts, but I have to say it's the sign of maturity to appreciate, especially when you get to play with such great people. I mean, if I play a Haydn with them, it's a complete delight because I'm playing Haydn with these two, right? It's fabulous. It's just like playing Pachelbel canon. The cello plays the same thing 26 times. I actually counted because you just get to sit there and look around and just count. And if you have great players you're playing with, it's a delight. Hello, it's not like when you're younger and all you want is to be. And also, if you can't stand being a supporting player, maybe don't be a cellist.
Words of wisdom from these guys. Would you join me in thanking the ladies? Before we move on to the next group, I want to just point out something to you in the program. Do you know what a QR code is? This funny looking thing on the back page? If you would point your phone camera at that QR code at some point today, it will link you to a survey which will help Classical Up Close keep these concerts free, particularly if you're not a big classical music goer. This survey is really helpful. So think about it. If you got a couple minutes, just pretty easy, and it'll help in the long run. So thank you. All right. So this is Ron and Maria and Martha. Welcome. I think I convinced Ron to say a few words, or is Martha going to say a few words about this next piece? Martha. Would you like a microphone or no? Sure. Okay.
Hi everyone, good evening. So we are going to play for you a trio for flute, violin, piano by Bohuslav Martinu, who's a Czech composer born in the latter part of the 1800s, I think 1890s. And he came to the U.S. in 1941 and spent about 15 years here before his death. And he wrote a lot of really fun music, playing with where the beat is, but there's always a beat. So really happy and upbeat and a lot of different influences for you to listen for.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. got the principal flutist of the Oregon Symphony, Martha Long, right here. Ron Lessinger is not only a member of the Oregon Symphony, but he's also executive director of another arts organization in town called 45th Parallel Universe. And Maria Garcia is All Classical Portland's new artist in residence, and we are so thrilled about that. I saw a question back there in the back. Yes.
Oh, it's for the flutist. Sorry about my ignorance, but how much does blowing affect the sound and the notes? Do you just play constantly, or is there a change?
Like different speeds of breath?
Yeah,
Is that what you're getting at?
Strengths.
Yeah, good question. So on the flute, air is everything. I mean, air is what makes the sound. It makes the sound quality, and it determines which octave you're playing in. But all other woodwind instruments have an octave key, usually their left-hand thumb, which means that when they press it down, the note just automatically goes up an octave. But on the flute, we don't have that. It's all about direction, like angle and speed of air. So sometimes composers will write these octave jumps for us where we're just going back and forth, and it's sort of like face gymnastics because we can't just press a button and do that. And it looks very silly. I will not be demonstrating. That was a really good question. Yes?
Thanks. First, Martha, I want to say I really enjoy your flute playing, so it's always good to hear you perfectly on pitch with beautiful tone. But I'm curious, I noticed you got a little white pad on your flute. What's that doing? And how does it not affect the sound?
Oh, it does affect the sound, I'm sure. Anything that you put on the instrument will sort of dampen the vibrations. But it's a toss-up between dampening the vibration of the instrument a little bit, the resonance, and playing with pain. So it's just a little cushion, and it rests exactly where my left hand rests on the flute, because you really only have 3 points of contact with the instrument that don't move at any given time. For those of you who are not flute players, you have your face, your chin, you have that left hand index finger, and you have your right hand thumb, and everything else has to be free to move. So ideally, you should be able to hold the instrument with only those 3 points of contact. And even like 25 or whatever years later, for me, that's still hard to do. So you have to press a little bit with your left hand, and having a little bit of cushion helps, I find.
I like that question. Yes.
That's the flute.
You're popular.
Is practicing enough for like your aqualung and all that, or do you do anything aside from practicing to prepare yourself, for the physicality of it?
Oh, that's a really great question. Well, I go to a lot of physical therapy. I think a lot of musicians do, because we all, Oh. I just want a mess. What? I mean, yeah, I have a great physical therapist. I mean, because playing our instruments, it's so much fun and it's so rewarding and everything, but it can also cause injury or pain. And so I spend a lot of time in PT, but they're apparently immortal. Or, running, or a lot of people do yoga.
Or, you guys are runners, right? You're a runner? And I'm Ron. Maybe not.
Yes.
I've seen pictures of like a bunch of Oregon Symphony musicians going out on 5K runs.
He's the band driver.
Well, Martha's organizing a marathon team of Oregon Symphony players this year.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be.
This Oregon is the 50th anniversary of the Portland Marathon, and I want a sparkly medal.
We don't get medals in music. We don't get medals in music. I see a question way back there. Yeah.
Hi, thanks. I love the Martineau. I was curious, I go to some music camps. I'm an amateur musician, and when they're assigned Martineau, all the wind players say, yay! And when the string players are assigned Martineau, they go, who's that? Oh my God. So I'm curious if he's written very much for strings, because obviously has written a lot of chamber works for winds.
No, interesting.
I think you need to go to a different camp. I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, obviously, great wind music. In fact, there are 2 other trios for this instrumentation, almost, because one of the other trios is actually for harpsichord instead of piano. And another one of my favorite pieces is the Nonette, which is for wind quintet and string quartet. I don't know, I don't have that reaction to Martin at all. I'm not like eager to play more of it.
This was your idea.
And it was my idea.
Yes.
I was going to ask Ron how he's handling his depression when he plays this music.
Depression.
He absolutely flaws me in his facial expressions. And
boy.
my heart beats as the music is playing. The depression.
It's not easy. It's just one note at a time.
These people, oh my God. Any other questions before we break for intermission? You guys are a hoot tonight. I love it. And this is the last full-length concert of the classical up-close season. There's pop-up concerts still to come. In fact, on Friday, they're going to be at Powell's downtown. You can see the list of these pop-up concerts in your program. These are pop-up concerts are way less formal. Okay, this is formal. This is not formal. Way more informal, just like quick concerts in and out. So check out the Powell's, and I think they were in Sherwood just a couple days ago. Anyway, there's a whole list of pop-up concerts in your program. Now, before I send you off for intermission, I want to say just a couple things. One is that you may have noticed that this concert today was free. If you would be so generous as to put a couple bucks in the donation bin outside the door, that will help ensure that we can provide wide and free access to these concerts for anybody who wants to come. So thanks for considering that. Also, if you didn't get a blue raffle ticket on your way in, make sure to get one of those at intermission too, because right after intermission, we're going to do a drawing for a pair of Oregon Symphony tickets for their concert on May 23rd. So if you don't have a blue ticket, you can find one where you came in. And also, if you're looking for something to do at intermission, there is a sign-up sheet for a mailing list for Classical Up Close. If you want to be the first to find out about their next season's concerts, the mailing list is right outside conveniently by the donation box too. All right, so how about we meet here about 5 after 8, about 10 minutes intermission? Does that sound good? Thank you to Ron and Martha and Maria. Yeah. No, that's June.
Oh.
That's June.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't even know.
All right, you got your tickets handy? Yes? All right, are you going to draw or shall I? All right, the number is 330513. Yay! Congratulations. Is that right? 13? You got it. Yay! Well done. We've got a big piece consuming all of the second half, and it's a gorgeous one. I'm a kind of French horn player myself, so I'm so excited for this next piece. But one thing I want to do before we hear that, each of these evening concerts, I've been taking a selfie of all of us. So I'm wondering if you would mind being part of my picture. Is that okay? And because so many mouths are covered with masks, on the count of 3, would you like gesticulate wildly and make it seem like you're having a grand time? Even though I know you are. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right. You can can look for that on by the way, if you are taking pictures yourself, in the program and up here you can see all of the social media things for Classical Up Close. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Some good behind the scenes stuff there as well. All right, we are going to enjoy some Brahms now with an amazing group of human beings. We have Sayami, Joe, and Yoko performing for us. Would you join me in welcoming them? Oh, they are. Come out, wherever you are. There they are. Joe, Sayami, and Yoko. I think Joe wanted to say maybe a word or two about this piece before he plays it for us.
We couldn't figure out which way to get in. But we're here. So the only thing I will say is this horn trio.
It's awesome.
We're first of all, it's awesome, and horn players are so lucky. Brahms wrote us a great piece. Beethoven wrote us a great piece. Mozart wrote us a whole bunch of pieces. We're lucky. A lot of wind players don't have that, so yay to them. But what I want to say about this piece is we're only playing 3 of the movements. It's normally 4 movements long. The third movement, which will be our second movement, is sort of a homage to Brahms' mother, who passed away right before he composed this. And supposedly he was walking in the woods, and this is what came to him. I think it's a very profound, beautiful expression. So I just want to point that out. The last movement's sort of a typical hunting sort of rondo, a la Mozart, with a lot more in it. Yeah, that's
okay.
That's Opus 40.
Actually,
join the group. Bugs?
to stand?
Oh, God.
Well, because that means that Seami was standing too, and I just love watching you play. You're a joy to watch. But you could have sat and made it much more easy on yourself.
Yes. You know, it's funny, there's a lot of pressure on horn players these days to stand up and play all the time. The instrument gets heavy after all. Yeah. And we're whiners, but it does work. Soloists do it can work. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for the group? Yes.
Who would have ever thought a French horn and a violin and a young lady reading her music off of an iPad?
Yeah.
Have you noticed how many musicians are playing off an iPad today? Yeah, quite a number of them. Do you prefer that, Yoko?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't have to worry about page time.
Exactly.
Say it again.
I don't have to worry about, asking someone to turn pages for me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I turned, but it's still tricky. I'm still getting used to it. So I don't know if you saw me. Did you see me? Yeah.
What did you do?
3 pieces.
3 went
Way back here in the back, yes.
So, are there any ergonomic disadvantages with playing the violin for a long, long time like yourself? I mean, you heard about ergonomic issues with the flutes. Have you had any problems playing the violin for so long?
Are you in pain?
I am not in pain. Ideally, even though the violin is off to one side, the body is still symmetrical. So if you want to hold this for me, the violinist should not mold to the violin. We should stay symmetrical and bring the violin to us. And if you actually put our hands, the way our hands are, if you invert them, they're actually similar positions. So even though it looks very...
Brass players, and especially for French horn players, what do you do to take care of your lips?
Oh, yeah. Krista could answer this one. What happens to us is what happens to any athletic endeavor, which is that you can, by playing, you're working the muscles in such a way that you can damage them slightly. The goal is to do it slightly, just like if you were to lift weights. The goal is to have kind of micro tears in your muscles, and then they rebuild stronger. That's what we try to do. We try to stay short of actually injuring ourselves in a way that we can't recover from quickly. So I would say, for me, that's the number one thing. To just be relaxed and comfortable when I play as much as possible, and don't push beyond a point that we all kind of get these signals from our lips like, this is not going to end well. And if you stay within that and keep pushing that limit farther and farther, like other endeavors, you get stronger and stronger over time, and you tend to be able to play for long periods of time after a while. But yeah, it's a good question, and it causes challenges.
Yeah. Did I see another question back there in that corner? Yeah, you guys, good.
So I thought your pianissimos were so spectacular and breathtaking. They were wonderful. And I know that this is a really difficult piece for balance, and the balance was so good. And thank you, Horn, for helping with that. But I'm curious also about horn. Is this the modern horn? Is it the same as the era in which this piece was written?
Brahms wrote at a time when things were actually starting to transition to valved horn, and there's argument about whether some of the things he wrote could have even been played on natural horn. There are natural horn players that play this piece. I personally think it's, with the exception of a few passages where I think it would be magical, it's kind of ridiculous because the key is such that you'd have to play so many passages, almost every note stopped, which might help with balance on some things, but it'd be so buzzy and closed a lot of the time that it seems, I'm not sure, honestly, what was the performance practice in Brahms' day.
Can you demonstrate, maybe people don't know what stopped means?
Yeah, so with the horn we play, although we have our hand on the bell, we keep our hands kind of open, and I tend to keep it sort of in the middle, sort of open. So this is what it would look like from here. like that. When you play stopped horn, which some composers write for, they write a plus in the music, and we play fully stopped, and it sounds. It gets that very buzzy sound. The transition between that was natural horn, where you tried to play open, but you also had to lower some notes to get certain things in tune, so you could play a scale. Now I had to pull my hand all the way off of that note because you want to be extra sharp to get that leading tone. So that's how the horn kind of evolved to be in an orchestra. And what's interesting is what you said about sound quality-wise and amount of sound, is the natural horns were a little bit smaller bore, a much smaller bell, and they didn't have any of these valves in here, and they're very light instruments, so they actually did sound quite small and mellow. Modern instruments, in order to play very soft, that takes a lot of extra work than it would on an older instrument.
So bravo, those pianismos were gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. That's
quiet is hard. Quiet is hard. Did I see another question back there? Anybody?
How about for the violinist? Besides ergonomics.
Well, you guys have asked such incredible questions today, and I hope you've had a really good time. I will say, take a look at those pop-up concerts, because there's going to be a horn quintet playing in a parking lot in Lake Oswego in a couple of weeks, and you don't want to miss that.
Back outdoors.
Yeah. So thank you once again for being here today, and don't forget there's the donation box at the back. Anything is so welcome, and we're so grateful for your support. Tell your friends that there's more pop-up concerts to come. They're a lot of fun as well. And thank you so much for being here and supporting Classical Outdoors.
Was this your standard?